I love how you describe all of this. I think about the guided as facilitation, where the
Yeah.
parents facilitate, the teachers facilitate,
Yep.
the therapist facilitates, and we teach the parents how to facilitate the social communication,
Right.
how to question, when to question, how to bring them into these encounters. Because by nature, because we do have such a high percentage of socially anxious individuals, that act of social engagement is stressful. And
Sure.
so we have to teach parents, how do you help a child
Yeah.
become more socially engaged and connected if their innateness is to not.
Right.
And so, especially after COVID, and it's been much rougher, we see so many more kids struggling with social communication. Kids with adults has been rough
Yeah.
because for so long, a couple years in a young child's life is like a decade for us.
Absolutely. It's most of their life, right?
And
Yeah.
then yeah, and parents will say, "Well,
Mhm.
how come my child, like, she still doesn't talk to adults? She still,"
Yeah.
because for 2 years of their life, don't go near them, don't go near, wear a
Yeah.
mask. So
Yeah.
reading facial, I mean, this is a whole nother podcast,
Yeah.
but we see the ramifications and how younger children in the language formative years really struggled to not have those social models, and we're very isolated and don't get
Yeah.
near the person and wear a mask. And then the middle schoolers really struggled too. We all struggled.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Everyone struggled,
Yeah.
and it's just beginning to come out, all those struggles.
Yeah.
So, it is, pretty pretty amazing how COVID affected everybody.
Yeah, and we'll be learning about it for a long time to come, and my children were a little bit older. I had a middle schooler and a elementary school child during the height of COVID. And yeah, so I'm sort of seeing things in terms of like, when are they developing like romantic relationships, and how are they communicating with their friends, and how does technology play a role in how kids are communicating today, which is so different than, a generation ago. So we're all learning and doing the best we can as we go.
Yeah, no, this has been just great. And I think, the word play, like you said in the beginning, just is like, well, what do you mean by play? So
Yeah.
purposeful play in a lot of ways and free play. I love purposeful, though. And you mentioned about guided, like I call it silent goals when parents set the world up. They
Yes.
arrange the get together, they go to a store during off hours, avoiding loud, large, lots of people
Sure.
environments. Like we set the world up. We
Yeah.
pick certain buddies, we pair and group them in class a certain way, we question a certain way. How do we set the world up to facilitate, play? How do we to facilitate comfort, connection, and progress? And so this all comes into play.
Yeah. No pun intended.
No pun intended. No pun intended. I think this has been great, and I think this gives our listeners just so much to think about. And I'm excited because, like, I'm gonna look more into a lot of the things. I had read a lot about your work, and, my child who is, my oldest child used Leapfrog when he was a young boy,
Oh,
all my kids. I mean, so that's many, many years old
yeah.
because my son is 33.
Yeah. 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 Leapfrog's been around for quite a while. I still have friends who work there. They're still making amazing things. So,
Yeah, I
um,
remember early on with all 4 of my kids, like,
yeah.
using the Leapfrog, early learning,
Yeah.
and, it was amazing.
Yeah.
So, it supplemented a lot with the school.
Yeah, I
So
think that's a great word, supplement. I mean, that's how I think about a lot of the playful experiences that I've been designing in my career. They're not intended to replace what's
right.
happening in the classroom, and they're certainly not intended to replace the critical play and learning that happens with humans in a social setting. But they can certainly supplement, augment, extend, and really help to reinforce or allow kids to practice things in a way that feels both fun and also safe.
And I remember when my kids were doing this. I mentioned my son because he seemed to use it a little bit more than my other 3, maybe because when I had more kids born, they was 4 within 3.5 years, and they were each other's play, whereas
Sure.
he needed a little bit more. But, playing, having a device to kinda play over is a great way to divert direct eye contact for kids that are a little more anxious. So
Yeah.
working on something jointly where your eye contact is on the task,
Yes.
focusing on the task is very helpful for a lot of my clients and patients.
Yeah, I actually that reminds me of like success I've sort of experienced too, in which some of my best conversations with my kids have happened while walking because
Yeah,
you're facing
yeah,
forward, you're not
yeah,
sitting across, and it really lowers some of that pressure, if you will. And so even just shifting our gaze, shifting what we're looking on, diverting that attention, as you mentioned, can be incredibly helpful.
I have this visual that I show a lot at during my treatment and also at camp to the families is I have two pictures and both families say, "Yeah, my child has small groups in class." Great, check it off. You have small groups. They have buddies. Great, check it off. You have it. It's what you do, how you do it, when you do it, where you do it, who's included in that, how you question. So there's two pictures. One is of a teacher with three kids. Another is of a teacher with three kids. But the difference between the one teacher and the not is the one teacher staring the child down and asking questions. And you
Right.
just see the distress.
Yeah.
Whereas the other picture is there's visuals and manipulatives, and the teacher's asking questions over the manipulative.
Sure.
So it's through the task, I say, that progress will often occur.
Yeah.
It's not about how are you, good, how are you? Yeah, you have to deal with that and you have to work on that, and we will via the games we just talked about
Yeah.
or the goals for the older kids. But focusing on a visual task and activity is such a great way to divert that
Yes.
eye to eye that causes stress and anxiety in so many of my patients.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I also think just putting your focus on a joint task and
Yeah.
feeling like you're working on something with somebody is also just a critical element of that.
Yeah, through play, through doing a project,
Yes.
working together and stimulating engagement through hand and take and
Yeah.
asking questions to bring them in. These are the things we teach the adults through the activities these kids do.